Mr. President, Eritrea is heavily sanctioned by the United States and some other countries. What do you think are the implications of those sanctions? And now it seems there's a tendency for some countries to label some developing countries as undemocratic and then use them as excuses to impose sanctions. How would you respond to that?
It's the sick mind of hegemonistic powers. It's sick because why impose sanctions? What is the legality of imposing any sanction? What is the morality of imposing any sanction on any nation? It's a big question mark. It's not only sanctioning Eritrea, but sanctioning all those who uphold their independence and sovereignty. If they don't like you, they will impose sanctions. They will try to cripple your economies. They will try to incite conflict. They will try to destabilize and interfere. And they have no moral or legal high ground to come and intervene or even impose sanctions on any nation. Eritrea has been a victim of this because for the last 80 years, they have had their own fancy ideas about dominating Africa by regionalizing Africa into influence or centers of influence. And everyone who disagrees with their philosophy and their sick mind will have to be punished. Punish and punish and punish, demonize, impose sanctions. We're fed up of this stupid idea of imposing your will on others' sovereign and independent choice and trying to keep their economies and try to create the disruptions here and there. One of the reasons for trying to create a rift between China and Africa is to promote their own agenda of dominance, and anyone who disagrees with them will have to be punished. For us, been a long experience, we've been able to face this challenge, and in solidarity with our partners in Africa, with China, Asia, Europe, Americas, definitely this defunct idea to me will be history no matter of one decade.
Mr. President, give us an idea about what kind of impact has those sanctions made on the development of your country and also the livelihood of your people?
No, it's not deniable. It does disrupt economic development here or there. It cripples abilities here and there. But that's one of the challenges. It's an uphill struggle. You can't build a nation in a very smooth manner without their disruptions. Imagine the history of the Chinese people, where from they have come and where they are now and where they are going. The same thing for Africa. A major challenge for liberation of peoples, independence of nations, and ultimately economic development to change the qualities of life of them cannot happen without challenge. The damage done to our economy through these sanctions have been tremendous, but we say we have learned our lesson. It has made us more resilient and more determined to continue our struggle, endeavor to change the quality of life by improving our economy.
The problem here is many Western countries, the States and also other countries, they're taking sanctions as the kind of solution to resolve, crises and issues.
The advantage of that attitude, that sick attitude, is it has inspired people more committed to liberation, independence.
I think you are a believer of what doesn't destroy you, only make you stronger, right?
It does. I'd like to see everyone making his contributions in life. Your aspirations, your goodwill is your own emotional resource. But the fact that someone is coming and bullying you, someone is harassing you, someone is putting sanctions on you, he's training you. It's a matter of getting the training in a negative manner. Ultimately, you become a full person. It's a learning experience for someone to go through these experiences. And you can't thank them definitely for their ugly attitudes, but definitely you have learned your lesson by going through the process of facing the challenge created by this dominating force. You have both sides of the coin. You have to see the advantage and the disadvantage. I could have done better without that, but I have learned a lot by their bullying attitudes and their sanctions that have crippled my ability to move forward.
Mr. President, you share a very special bond with China because about 50 years ago, you spent 2 years studying here in the country. And I read from a book which depicted you as a 21-year-old young man, very tall, who doesn't talk much, kind of shy, but who studies very hard and think very actively. So how do you think that experience has influenced you? And is there any interesting or impressive stories that you can share with us?
It was a moment where a young man of
That was just a snippet from, in my opinion, the most based anti-imperialist leader on the entire African continent. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, can you see me? Can anybody see? Can anybody see me? I don't know if anyone can see me. Hang on. Like I said, I'm still trying to get used. Like I said, I'm still trying to get used to this, guys. Cause well, yeah, right here. Normally, I'd be recording over from my studio over there, but I just decided I was gonna do this just sitting over here because you know what? I'm just a lazy bastard. So I thought, I was listening to this and I was like, oh, you know what? I think this would be a great thing to record because President Isaias Afwerki, he is the greatest leader in the African continent, in my opinion. The dude is straight to the point. He he nailed it. He even called the sanctions stupid. He called these Western chauvinist governments. He called them stupid. He called them all the names in the book. And in my opinion, and in my opinion, that's a respectable leader. In my opinion, that's a very respectable leader. So this is a different type of this is a different type of global report here, obviously. A little bit of a different one, so to speak. So yes, Isaias Afwerki is going to Russia and is going to China. So 8 minutes into this, why don't I just make the proper introduction? I was introducing the president of the great nation of Eritrea. So with that, why not just do it the proper way and say welcome aboard to a very special global report with Zach. Well, 8.5 minutes into it, I figured, why not? Because, that's just me. I record off the cuff like I always do, All right, what? Instead of being a couch potato, originally I was thinking of just recording a snippet of that interview from CGTN. But then I'm thinking, I was like recording it because it was like it's one of my favorite speeches from this man. I've only listened to a few of President Afwerki's speeches, but this one was particularly good because he was actually calling out the sanctions. He was straight to the point in the CGTN interview. He was going to China. He's going to Russia. President Afwerki in Eritrea throws no punches. He's standing up against the U.S. and the West. All these colonialist nations in Africa, he's standing up to them. That's what he's doing. So, with that, I think I'm just going to take this and go bring it over here. Because, I'm just going to sit there and record like a lunatic. And just, recording from my couch like a lunatic. So I'm going to do it the proper way this time around.
it's one of those types of videos. All right, YouTube. So we have the President Afwerki, who was in China speaking with Chinese media, and that's exactly where he was speaking out against the bullshit Western sanctions. And I say kudos to him for that, and kudos to him for speaking out against the bullshit in general. Now, some people will say, oh, he's a dictator. He's such an evil, bad guy. Like, oh my God, he's like this evil, bad guy that like we shouldn't be supporting and whatnot. And it's like, okay, yeah. Says who? Says who? What? What evidence are you basing that on? Like, well, what evidence are you basing any of this information about this guy or his country on? Because when I checked, the information that I've checked about Eritrea, Eritrea is the safest nation in Africa, one of the safest nations in the world, has little to no violent crime, little to no homelessness, and if there's any poverty that's present, it's because of bullshit U.S. sanctions on them. UN sanctions are enforced by the US. Who do you think invented international law? Who do you think invented the same type of bullshit and going back and forth and then breaking that own international law? Oh, that's right. The UN invented international law. So by definition, the US is the one that dominates over smaller nations like Eritrea, like Ethiopia, like all of these countries, no different than what the empires have done all throughout history, what the empires have done to Western Africa, from Mauritania to Mali to Burkina Faso to all the others. And look at what the Portuguese have done to Guinea-Bissau, to Mozambique, to Angola, and beyond. This is an example of these countries breaking the shackles of Western colonialist nations. That's just a perfect example of it. And this is what Eritrea is doing. Eritrea was under Italian colonialism for a great number of years. Why do you think that they're all turning to Russia and China? It's just, this is a perfect example of exactly that. And it's great to see more and more of these leaders standing up, because as an American, I want to see an end to U.S. hegemony, because U.S. hegemony is a threat to Americans' way of life. Just innocent, ordinary Americans like myself, like all of you watching, all my fans, all my homies, and everyone in my family. American hegemony is a threat to us all. It's a threat to all of us. And this is something that makes the empire shake in its boots, is to see a leader like this go to other based countries. We got a based leader who is going to stand up to these other Westernite tyrants and assholes and is going to go and speak out. Now, you can make an argument, oh, he's a dictator, he's a tyrant, or whatever. Well, whenever you think about President Afwerki, you got to understand where he's coming from, speaking out against this nonsense, because I think it's great. I think it's funny to see him call your sanctions stupid and throwing them back in your face. I think it's absolutely hilarious to see that, to see more and more of these leaders speaking out. And I'm following him on Twitter now, as a matter of fact. Yes, President Afwerki has a Twitter account, which I think is even more great. He's been calling out Zelensky. He's been calling out everybody. I mean, the dude has done a lot of good. I mean, I'm sure he's made some mistakes like every other foreign leader has. But no, like that little snippet from CGTN, which, by the way, credit to CGTN, one of my favorite news outlets. Oh, God forbid, I'm a fan of Chinese news outlets. Oh my God, you're a fan of Russian news outlets. Well, yeah, as a leftist and a socialist, and who does not believe anything the Western media outlets have to say, yes, I do support them, because they're obviously the ones that are out there telling the truth. Unlike you motherfuckers that are not telling the truth about anything. And they're just not. So now, kudos to President Afwerki for speaking out. Kudos to him for speaking out against the bullshit sanctions. And as an American, an anti-imperialist American, leftist, socialist, you name it, President Afwerki, I salute you. But that's pretty much all I wanted to say for now with regards to that little snippet from the interview. I mean, that's pretty much what you have to, what there is to say about this because, yeah, link in the description to that interview. It's a great interview. Highly recommend it. And I highly recommend CGTN as well. They do a lot of great work as well. They really do. So anyway, that's about it for now. Thank you all for listening. Hope you all enjoyed this little global report with Zach. This was a little bit of a different type of global report today. Hope you all enjoyed. And I will see you all in the next one. Look out for it. More stuff on the way, including my next live stream, which is tomorrow at 7 p.m. Look out for it. And there's going to be much more topics in the works. Stay tuned for more, including more of my reading series, which I'm going to start doing again soon. And look out for it, and I will catch you in the next one. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, stay classy, and as always, keep fighting and keep on rocking. Till next time, peace out and so long.